What's up, LinkedIn? My name's Hillary and I'm with Bear Insurance. This week's It's Time to Bear Down. I have Rebecca Prohaska with me from Potter Lawson. She is a principal and the director of business development at the firm. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining me today.
Thank you for doing this.
Awesome. Well, today, the inspiration behind me interviewing today, besides the fact that I love your energy and I really enjoyed getting to know you the last several months, Potter Lawson, you put together a survey, a COVID-19 survey, dealing about 5 or 6 questions or so. You sent it out to various businesses asking how, are they back to work? Are they planning to be back to work? If they do plan to bring employees back, what is that going to take to bring employees back? So what are you doing in the office today? Are you back in the office? Are you working from home?
We are back in the office. As part of the Safer at Home, we were deemed essential to support the construction industry, but we did pivot and sent staff home for, what seemed like a long time. But when we were able to safely bring everyone back, we did. The nature of our work is very collaborative. So while our team hit it out of the park and made it work, it wasn't the best for us. So we have safely returned to the office with a few alterations.
Great. And were you surprised by the results of that survey? I mean, it was pretty equal across the board, I guess, depending on if somebody's working from home, if they encourage people to come back to the office or they're back at the office. So what were your initial reactions to the survey?
I would say first initial reaction was honestly a bit of relief. I think we've all seen stories splashed on national news or national real estate firms or national design firms. For a while, they were saying the office is a thing of the past. And us as a profession, but also personally, I'm someone that I did not work well at home. I got distracted easily. I started to get nervous, wondering if this is really the direction we're going. So for us, we really saw a need and a want, and we had a lot of our clients reaching out to us saying, what are you seeing? What do you think? What's your gut? So we turned around recognizing we're so fortunate to have, I think this went out to just over 750 of our past clients and consultants and people in the industry focused in our region. So the vast majority of these were in Wisconsin and even southwestern Wisconsin. To really give us a true sense of what's going on here. We have quite a few of our clients that are back in the office already. And so it was interesting to, watch the national news and then maybe not see that driving with what we were hearing locally. So that was sort of the impetus for us, was to really be a resource. But the thing I took away from it was, people are either already back, either their work they weren't able to work from home doing the type of job they do, or like us, the profession of architecture and design is very collaborative. But at the end of the day, the majority of them are going to be back, the vast majority. I think it was about 2% that said, this might work for us long term. So that was a big relief and excitement. And then we started digging into, what in their eyes will make it successful. And that's where we really got excited as designers.
So you're saying, even though a lot of people had figured out the work from home thing, some obviously, it didn't work for you. I happen to be home today, but otherwise I'm in the office every day. But it may have, some people have figured it out, but that doesn't necessarily mean commercial real estate is dead.
No, I think for us, no, I don't think it's dead at all, actually. And I think one of the most exciting things we saw in the comments from the survey were, what are people going to do long term, which we were just trying to get people thinking outside of this stressful time that we're in, that we're all getting a little worn down on. And those responses were even more exciting. Surprisingly, actually, a number of them said, we're not really going to do anything long term, which I think is sort of human nature. I think we're already seeing people starting to get this pandemic overload and stress, and they're starting to go back to their normal lives, maybe earlier than some would say we should. But I think in the long term, the office place is not going away. And in fact, one of the most common responses we received is people actually want more space for staff. Well, 5 years ago, there was a big trend to benching and how many people can we get per square feet. I think we're going to start shifting the other way for the better. I think better, healthier for staff, makes your facility resilient when you are hit with something like this.
Yeah.
And just, the cost of sending people home, bringing them back, lost productivity, mental stress. If you have a space that can support you long-term, it'll be good. So I think, I think it was 35% said no long-term changes anticipated.
So besides, maybe increasing the space bar and giving employees more space at the workplace, what else do you anticipate will change because of COVID?
Processes and procedures, definitely. For us, we are taking staff temperatures every day. We are, one of the things as Americans, we've always been prideful in going to work even when we're sick. The good news is I think that's definitely going to change and has already. We haven't had anyone at the firm with COVID, knock on wood, which we're fortunate for. I'm sure it will happen. This is a virus that won't go away, but when people are exposed, and we have had that, we are set up to work remote, so we support them and make sure we keep everyone healthy. So I think it's just being more cognizant and thoughtful in how we operate, who we engage with, doing meetings virtually when we can has been a great outcome of this. But it does get a little tricky, talking to staff. Never have we said, well, yeah, you can go on vacation, but where are you going? Some of this gets, so we're trying to balance staff privacy and trust. We have an amazing team, and everyone's has the accountability, knowing it's not just you, you're in a workplace.
So do you see a difference in agendas for tenants versus landlords today?
I don't know. We didn't break our respondent pools out quite that way, but knowing, we have a mix of clients that are both landlords and tenants. I do know landlords were hit with a lot of requests, to make capital investments and alterations that otherwise weren't in their budget, and some of them were costly. So for us, we're a tenant here at our building. We put in a global plasma system for managing, contaminants in the air and on surfaces. I know a number of developers have invested in that for their tenants. So I think there's a push to maybe see landlords invest more in common space amenities, but then for us, we took it upon ourselves in our space to do what we needed. So I think the visions are starting to unify, whereas in the beginning it was landlords thinking they were going to have vacant space and tenants thinking they were never going back or going to need less. I think we're getting back to a more common ground.
Switching gears just a little bit. So from an employee perspective and from a business trying to be more attractive to employees, because thinking of bringing employees back to the workplace or, trying to hire new employees. So what do you think, and maybe how do you incorporate things into your business that other businesses may need to do to attract, the next generation, the millennials, the youngins, to come work for you?
That's a good question. I think a lot of that will come around operations. Which is something we as designers can only support a little bit. If a company is willing to let people work remote, I know that's a question we've received from new applicants in the last 2 months. One of the first questions is this a remote position or can I work remote? Which for us, that's not in our long-term solution. We can pivot as needed to support staff in situations. So I think operationally deciding what works and what doesn't and being right up front with it, clear expectations. I think there are people that won't take a position unless they can work remote. So that's an honest conversation they have to have. I think for us in the design world, it's when you do put thought into your space and create bigger workstations and invest in HVAC controls and procedures, I think the best thing is going to be to share those right up front. So you're mitigating, you're not making people ask for what you're doing. You're easing that fear, especially as people are re-entering the workplace. Being proactive and sharing what you have done without making them ask is going to be important.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there at Potter Lawson, I mean, besides having a fun atmosphere, but you're also a very successful company too. So besides those factors, wanting to bring, potential employees in, or, the same for other businesses, it's good to just be out there and let them know what you've done and implemented to help
Yeah.
stop the spread of COVID, I guess, in the workplace. So one last, and just because since I'm in the sales industry and I know you being the director of, business development there, what are you doing to get new projects, to keep bringing in those things in the door to help the business grow? What are some of the things that you are doing at Potter Lawson to do that?
Relationships. That sounds so cheesy and is such a cliche answer, but that's one thing as a firm that we take very seriously in busy times, and even more critically in less busy times like we're all faced with today. We typically remeasure this about every 2 years, but about 83% of our work comes from either direct client referrals or repeat clients. So we're really fortunate to have that loyalty and long-term base that we reach out to, and they've market for us, which is wonderful. But it's spending time doing virtual coffees like you and I have done, meeting people outside when they're comfortable like you and I have done. But it's a little bit more work, but it's different work. There aren't networking things at night, so I tend to be here by 6:37 in the morning to catch people at the start of their day. So it's just, you have to be a little bit more purposeful with your time, but ultimately it's just being in front of people. It's engaging with them how you can, and maximizing those relationships. How about you?
Awesome. The same. I mean, we've often forget that we need to utilize our current client base, because you're already taking great care of them. You're doing, you're going and being proactive about things. So, you should have that good relationship with them. And it's not, a negative thing to see if they have any referrals they can make, or if they know this person, can they make an intro?
Right.
So I think, like you, using your current client base or your current network already to help build more relationships. I think we often forget about that. A lot of times we think, oh, I got to make cold calls when you're in, a sales position, which I think you still need to do that, because you have to continue to make new relationships. But the same, I'm doing kind of a vast variety of things. So
that's just it. It's a variety of things. One other successful thing we did was we gathered the whole firm together, safely distanced with masks, and did a brainstorming session and said, okay, here's, where do we think the hot markets are going to be? Where do we think their opportunities are? Who is thriving right now? And doing that exercise as a team, we had some fantastic ideas come out of that for people that otherwise don't think they're in sales. When we say, I mean, everyone that works here is a representation of the firm, and that's arguably they're engaging with our clients the most day to day. So that was as much a valuable exercise for us as management, but also for our staff. We have just the best people. And so great ideas come from that. So it's thinking outside the box. Like you said, try something. If it doesn't work, try something else.
Yep. Well, that's why I started these LinkedIn videos. It's time to bear down, trying to think of something new.
And I look forward to them now.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I really appreciate your time this morning. Next time, maybe we should do one over drinks.
Deal.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time. If you have any questions, reach out, but look forward to the next It's Time to Bear Down. Make it a great day.